Hey YouTube, Lawler here. We've got a pretty crazy one, and if this title doesn't raise the eyebrows, I don't know what will. There's been a lot of conversation on the timeline in regards to the current state of Rocket League Esports or Rocket League in general, and a lot of the concerns, and that is further exemplified by the statement that was put out by Achilles earlier in the week. This is the thing that I can tell you guys I've been alluding to as well. Achilles ended up putting out that like G2 may be allowing their team to go find another organization, which their future in the scene is undetermined. A lot of conversations about why and how that is. How is a team that is almost one of the winningest in the space, who's been around for as long as they have, how the heck is G2 potentially exiting? What is going on with this conversation? And luckily for us, we did get a little bit of insight. But before we did, we had a lot of people on the timeline providing their takes, their thoughts, and their opinions. And I'm here to do one of two things. Number one, I'm here to clarify and provide the information. I'm here to give you guys insight about the reality of things. And the number two thing is to make sure that I clear up any illogical conversation, any terrible takes, anything, and provide insight in that regard to give you guys kind of the full story so you can then go and make your own opinion. At the end of the day, this is one person, me, who has their own thoughts of opinions based upon their experiences. And I recommend you do your own critical thinking, your own research. Do not take what I say as a fact. Just try to educate yourself from as many different sources and then come up and formulate your own opinion. So with that in mind, G2 likely exiting the scene. Why is that? What is going on? What is the purpose for that? Before we go into those, Energy did have a little bit of a hee hee ha ha saying, you know what, we have an opportunity to do something pretty funny right now, which in reality is kind of true. They do have the ability to go and try to buy out Atomic BMO and Daniel and Sathu and become the new best team in NA again, which hasn't been there for a while for Energy. Again, sometimes money talks. I say that in regard and go, Energy, I hope you don't do that, because I already know you guys operate in the red and you don't have the money to do this. But if you continue to double down on these things, you're only going to continue to see bigger and bigger problems. We'll see if Energy does that. My assumptions are going to go the LJFK route with a third, but we'll see. All rumors just for now. On top of that, we do then get the CEO of G2 who says, you know what? We're going to confirm this. And this is what I was waiting on. The rumors are true. Rocket League, although we love it, and not only is it a great game to watch, but also this team has been our first step in North America as an organization, based in Germany for those that do not know. And we have always received immense support from the fans. Unfortunately, the support we get from the publisher and the tournament organizer of the scene only covers 20% of the cost to operate a tier 1 roster. So let's take a step back and actually talk about that. G2 is coming into Rocket League and stating, we, as an organization, get 20% revenue back, whether it be through rev share programs or other opportunities with Blast, which is the tournament organizer, or Epic. The agreements that they have in place with the founding partners, the people that own the IP and Epic Games and everything else, only covers 20% of the cost it takes to run G2. So 80% of the funds are either coming out of their own pocket, their own community that raises funds through merch and stuff like that, content, you name it, or sponsorships. To me, as a person who has ran their own business and stuff, I go, how in the world are you so reliant, and how are you justifying spending that much money on a roster when clearly it is well over what should be the market average? It is insane. It is a terrible business decision. It is way too reliant on third-party activations. Like, it is an insane business model to be following. To which they then clarify, if we don't find a replacement for our main partner from last year, it would be impossible for G2 to continue in this ecosystem. To which, again, G2 is no longer G2 Stride. I can tell you that Stride deal was probably in the 2 to 3 million range, probably in the 3 million range. To which, if you are losing out a $3 million partnership and you are reliant for 80% of that partnership to be the reason you are able to cover a team, you clearly do not have the proper structures in place to run this business that you call your esports organization. It is just bad business practice altogether. You should not be relying on sponsorship dollars to run a business. We're going to talk a lot about that in the future. Remember that. Okay, you cannot rely on sponsorships to run a healthy ecosystem. Foundationally, you need a support system that drives revenue to break even, and then you market that And hopefully through that marketing, you get sponsorships. But to solely rely on partnership dollars and sponsorship dollars is idiotic. And unfortunately, that's how 99% of this industry works and is a problem. We want to be honest with the players and their coach, which is awesome. That if we cannot find a new partner in time, which also a problem, you're saying this is not possible unless you find a partnership. They have been great to us and deserve to compete at the highest level no matter what. Still in touch with potential partners that could help save the G2 Rocket League team. I sincerely hope that one of the brands would realize the fantastic opportunity to endorse the NA Avengers. To which if you ask me and I go, hey G2, let me see your books. What revenue are you driving? What impressions? What exposure? Whatever you want to call it. What are you doing to justify us giving you this money? What are you doing that is beneficial for me as a sponsorship to say it is worth giving you this money so we can pick up this team? What is me getting a title partnership out of G2, whatever my brand name is, worthwhile? What do I get out of it? Because the answer right now is a big fat dookie. It's nothing. There's really no reason to sign as a title partnership within this game. Sure, you can try to advertise to the young demographic that is the Rocket League fan base, and maybe you'll see some kickback in sales for that. But overall, what is the value that you are providing? And if you're telling me it's just slapping my name on a jersey, slapping our name on broadcast, I'm sorry, there's no way I'm giving you money for that. It does not make sense. Along with that, you see a lot of replies and people saying, hey, we appreciate the transparency. It's well said, which I agree. Hey, this has been the general consensus for every organization, whether it be SSG or OG or all these other organizations that have dropped out. But this is also on G2, saying that based upon what we're raising, we're only covering 20% of the costs. 80% of that we are relying on a sponsorship to cover the rest, to at least break even, which is a problem. You even see people like Zelsis, which if you guys don't know Zelsis from Sentinels, obviously a big figurehead, saying please support people. But the reality is why would you support this? To which we're going to continue talking about. Up next, you even see on top of that, there is rumors that other organizations are potentially entering the market. Heart of Thieves has teased that they've wanted to come in for a while. Probably not going to happen. T1 was also announced very early on. Who knows if that's going to happen either. Some of these organizations like T1 are spending millions upon millions on just Faker, but Riot at least has revenue options and can sell skins for $500 to justify the costs that are involved. Rocket League, we don't have that. You also see other takes on the timeline coming from the VP of Clover Talent, one of the bigger talent organizations, and he talks about, hey, here's some of the relevant facts about the RLCS market. Any contracts signed in the last 16 to 24 months are outdated, which is true. Some of those contracts from over 2 years ago are heavily inflated. They do not reflect the current market price of what players should be getting paid based upon what is being provided or what kind of revenue is being drawn from the space. And let's be completely honest, it has never been within the market price. It is like Rocket League contracts outside of the first couple of years have been heavily inflated. You've heard me talk about why, and the Cloud9 thing with NRG and how things shot up and how everybody else is demanding the same pay as their buddy. Like, I've already talked about that in detail, but players have been heavily outpaid and heavily underperforming when it comes to what their obligations are for a very long time. Players not being forced to make content, not rock the esport decal in game because of placebo, things of that nature that desperately need to happen so these organizations can justify the prices that these players are asking. They've also been, and this is a generalization because it doesn't apply to every player, heavily lazy. They don't make content. They don't talk on camera. They won't do interviews. Some of them don't even, after a loss, do meet and greets. Again, players' requirements and obligations need to be more strict. The difficulty, though, is it's very hard for an organization to enforce that because the players have the rights to the spot. If 2/3 of the spot and the actual value, which is, hey, top 8 in RLCS, that is where all the viewership, that's where all the marketing opportunities are. If the players own that spot, it's very tough for orgs to enforce it, because if the orgs try to enforce it and be more strict, then the players go, screw you, we're going to go find somebody else. And then somebody else comes in and pays them an inflated price, and it drives all the prices up. And then we keep seeing this cyclical process that doesn't help anybody. And the long-standing ones that do give a shit, like Space Station and so on and so forth, are left paying this high dollar amount and getting nothing on return, because it's tough to enforce something when you don't have the rights or the ownership to actually make a difference, because the players on the spot. I don't necessarily disagree with. I'm happy that Epic tries to provide stability for the players. Orgs will never be fully honest about how much they can spend, And this IMO causes the most inconsistencies to player salary. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. Orgs shouldn't have to tell you how much they can spend. Orgs should tell you this is what we are comfortable with spending, and either you take it or leave it. And if you don't like it, then move on. I do think there should be a little bit more transparency, but if I'm going into contract negotiations, go, hey, this is what we need to feel comfortable. These are the support things that we need. Can you make it happen? And if they go, no, I want to hear why. And if they can't give me a valid reason, guess what? I'm not going to waste my time anymore, and I'm going to move on. But this back and forth type thing about telling me how much can you spend is greedy. Orgs not being honest about how much they can spend. Why would an org tell you exactly how much they can spend? An org is trying to get the best deal because that is intelligent for business. Org's already trying to advantageously undersell players as a new market. I mean, yeah, it's their job to try to undersell. At the end of the day, orgs are trying to do what's best for them, and you're trying to do what's best for the player. That's why negotiations happen, and you guys meet in the middle. Many players are having difficulties accepting new market realities. Yeah, they've been heavily overpaid, and it's tough to say, hey, I was getting paid 15, 20K a month, and now I got to get paid 3 or 4. That's a big pay loss. That's huge. It's very tough to, if I came into you and said, hey, you're making $240,000 a year. Now you're making like 50. It's a pretty bad wake-up call. It's a pretty harsh reality to have to face. That's a big life adjustment. And unfortunately, these kids don't have the wherewithal to think, okay, this is a short-term career. I need to plan for the future. I need to not go buy Rolexes for 50 grand. I need to be smart. I need to advocate. Like, I need to work hard. I need to build my fan base. I need to build my own brand. I need to do these things intelligently. So I am set up for success. They don't think about that. A lot of these players go, hey, I'm going to show up to scrims a couple hours a day. I'm going to play ranked when I can feel good mechanically. And then I'm going to show up and play my matches, and that's it. And they're getting paid insane money for it. Like, that's insane. And has been going on for a very long time. And the reality is that adjustment needs to happen. We'll talk about why it is not just on players, though, in a bit. The morale between orgs in the relation to Epic is extremely low. Many stakeholders are pessimistic, which has been going on for a while as well. You guys have heard me talk about how 13 organizations came together to sign a petition to say, hey, we want better communication, and if not, we're leaving. When we saw Cloud9 leave, we've seen them recently come back. A lot of that's due probably to the Saudi oil stimulus money for EWC. That's a whole different conversation. But the reality is yes, a lot of people are not confident in Epic. And Epic has made it pretty clear that they really don't care about organizations in their esports. They much rather support individuals and players and kind of go the Smash route, where in Super Smash Brothers, you see organizations like Moist and Cloud9 and Liquid signed individuals with big fan bases. And then their tournament system is a separate entity. But they want the one person that is representation rather than an entire team. It's a little bit harder to do when you do have a 3v3 as your primary format. So yes, Epic has always been talking about the individuals because they are heavily content focused. That's why people like Clicks and stuff like that do extremely well with XSET, even though XSET as an organization doesn't even own or esports teams anymore. Like, they don't. They are a lifestyle brand company. They are a media company because they realize that the money is doing that and getting partnerships through like McDonald's and stuff like that, rather than having a team and using that to bring marketing and hopefully sell merch and content and stuff of that nature. It's much easier to work with one individual and pay them something nice when they know the return is going to be there because they have the dedicated viewership. It's why you guys have also heard me talk about, if I was an organization, the first thing I would do is I would hire 3 content. Let me go pick up Jamaican Coconut, Chief Beef, and Tenacity. I'm gonna have those guys play in RLCS every week, and I bet you I'm gonna get a much better return on the content that they make than I am a pro team that goes and wins the whole thing. I guarantee you the reach and the leverage they have and the price that I would pay would be significantly better than picking up a G2, an Energy, whatever, because it's gonna be so much better within the budget. The morale between players to orgs are extremely low right now too. Yeah, because players want a bunch of money and they're not getting that money, and organizations aren't willing to pick them up and pay them what they think they deserve because it's heavily inflated. We've never seen this little amount of external org interest in Rocket League. Yeah, because orgs are burnt out, man. Orgs have been trying to do stuff for quite a while, and the ones that are willing to stick around keep having their averages go up. They're just not getting a return. They don't have any ownership power. They don't have the ability to really invest. The format took a regression, and now the guaranteed spots are no longer guaranteed. Luckily, they're coming back next year. There's been a lot of reasons for organizations to lose faith. 1000%. And the big one, and I'm so happy John clarifies this, this is an esports industry issue. It is not just Rocket League. You guys have seen me on this channel talk about over the last however many years, the amount of layoffs that we've seen in the 10K plus. Even companies like Epic that are notorious for not doing massive layoffs had to do that for the first time in 30 years. The industry needs a massive overhaul, a massive reset. And a lot of that stems back to the thing I just talked about. You cannot keep picking up teams and hoping that 80% of the cost is going to come from a sponsorship, which unfortunately is the reality of esports. A lot of people in esports back in the day said, you know what? Guess what we're going to do? We're going to run this tournament in this little convention hall. Everybody's going to bring their CRT TVs and we're going to eat a bunch of pizza because we're a bunch of nerds. And then Domino's goes, wow, there's a bunch of people here eating pizza. What if we give them some money for a prize pool and we can sponsor it? Now more people are going to see our name and that has basically set a precedent for 30 years. That is no longer the case. You need to have stable businesses that bring in revenue, and then with that revenue, you can find a team, and that team is now your marketing tool to then kick back and promote that business that generates the revenue. Esports currently is a marketing tool. Until we get broadcast rights, until we get true, like really good franchise systems, which we do not have right now. Most of the franchise leagues suck. League of Legends is probably one of the better ones. Valorant does okay here and there, but like outside of Riot, franchising hasn't really gone well. Foundationally, we don't have the structures in place to justify spending the money or bring in the advertisement that is there. This is where we're going to go to the big conversation piece of this video. There are three major pillars, in my opinion, to make an esport successful. Number one is the developer. Epic Games has to actually care. Epic Games has to build systems and structures that can drive revenue that make sense for organizations to want to get in. Number two, it's us, the community. We ought to want to watch it. We want to entertain it. We want to check in because at the end of the day, we are the product that they are trying to sell to. We are the people that are going to invest and spend the money. And if you give us reasons to spend that money, you can drive revenue. Why is there no merch site for the RLCS full time? Why do they only have generic drops at every major? Like, I can't go on a website and buy an RLCS hoodie right now. Why? Why can't I spend money in game that goes directly towards the why can't? There's a lot of problems, and we're going to talk about those as well. Some people in the community do bring up good issues about like Bacchus mod, how I have no reason to buy items in the game because with Bacchus mod I can click a button and I can swap to any item in the game that I want. It needs to be banned. I think Bacchus mod as a tool is absolutely fantastic, but the fact that I have a program that allows me to mod the game and give me literally any item I want at no cost, why would I ever buy an item when as a PC user I can download a program and I'm good to go? Straight up. There's literally no reason. And in every other game, the decals and the stuff in game, the free-to-play system, the monetization system is the complete inverse in Rocket League compared to League of Legends, Apex, and all these other ones. People want cool skins. They want to look sweet. We don't have that in Rocket League. There's no point. And I understand a lot of users are on console and Switch, so they have to. But the matter of the fact is Bacchus mod gives us a massive leeway around that. There's a reason why I use Alpha Boost every single time. So there's problems in that regard as well. The pillars, Epic, the community, and then the last one is the actual tournament organizer or the production team in this case, which is now a partnership. It is not just a company that they hire and say, hey, do the thing. Blast is in charge of the marketing, selling sponsorships, running the esport. Like, they are truly at the helm of deciding what is important for the esport. They are the ones that are building what the format should be. And the thing is while they can do all of that to the best of their ability, it still takes Epic giving the check off and saying, we agree. It is still up to Epic to say, hey, we like your proposal. Let's go with it. And I can tell you from conversations I've had internally, Epic is getting better about that. Epic is giving more freedom to Blast. Blast is giving more ideas that are getting approved in a quicker way. And you can already see that in some of the decisions that happened throughout all of last year. Sure, we took a step back. There was some regression. There were some bad things. But overall, we knew that was going to happen. In my opinion, esports for Rocket League is going to do a few things over the next couple of years. Last year was regression. This year is refinement. Next year is growth. So 2025, I expect to be refinement. It is taking the little things that they did wrong and improving upon them. It is doing things that we missed out that they think, you know what, we need to bring back. But it is about refining what they had now that they have taken back, reduced how much cost is being paid, reduced the caster team, doing things that made it so it can break even. You need to break even. They brought in a ton of sponsors. Progressive was probably a massive deal. Like, they did some things to make sure that they were able to say, okay, this is sustainable. We can keep this going. This is a good thing. Now they're going to increase a little bit. Let's do some last chance qualifiers. Let's bring in the 1v1 scene, which is really, really cool. Let's make sure that we give people that automatic bid into the top 32 or whatever it was again. Let's make sure we do things a little bit better here. Still not perfect. Still things that we need to improve upon. But let's do some things a little bit better. My opinion, though, is that when 2026 rolls around, that is when we will start to expand. That is when we will start to see improvement. That's when we'll start to see things that are new that we haven't seen before. And we can really start to see the potential. None of that's possible unless the community supports it and Epic approves it and gives reasons for people to be there. Once all those things work in tandem, once all those things are good, once those systems and products and things are in place, that is when we can start to see organizations have interest. And without those things, why as an organization would I want to spend money on a team or anything like that when there's no return, there's no kickback, there's no system in place that justifies it? Because to my knowledge, the decal program, 70% of the revenue goes to Rocket League. It goes to Epic. 30% of those decal sales go back. Why don't we have things like a compendium where as much money I put into this decal, there's a decal that comes out for RLCS 2025. All proceeds, every single sale on that decal goes back to the organizations in the prize pool. I, as a fan, will buy that decal because I know exactly where it is going to. But that stuff doesn't exist. Those are conversations that need to happen between Blast and between Epic to where they can come to an agreement and say, get your grubby little fingers, Epic, off of this. You already are making a ton of money elsewhere. But for you to sustain your marketing tool for this game, you need to do this. And they need to convince them. And it's going to take someone internally to have that conversation and lay down the law and say, listen, this is where it happens in every other esport. There's a reason why they exist and why we are failing. Example 1, 2, 3, 4. Until that stuff changes, we're going to see more and more problems. What will not fix it is some of the things that, unfortunately, as much as I like Nick, we're going to have to put him under the gun right now, that he talks about. Some of the things he talks about is, yes, RLCS issues, orgs have zero revenue streams. Obviously, the in-game profits and stuff like that, the decals we've already talked about. Player salaries are way too high. Orgs don't have any guarantees. There's no empowerment from them. They don't have any ability to stick around. They don't have the ability to say, you know what, this Spart is ours. Hey, at least we've performed well enough to where we can guarantee that we're going to be back in the main event. Things like that don't exist. He also talks about in a game, and this is my biggest gripe with him, and he and I have talked about this off camera already. 3 main sponsors that are limited: gambling, crypto, and energy drinks. We're so insanely limited in what you can have for a tournament during the year that unless you're in MENA, your calendar is barely 6 months deep. And I replied to that. I said, maybe, just maybe, we should have a sustainable ecosystem before we're relying on sponsorships, because if we don't, the cycle is going to continue to happen. We cannot be reliant on partnerships to survive anymore. We cannot keep taking VC money, third-party dollars, giving them zero return, and hoping that is going to be the solve-all for our esport. We don't have that product itself yet. While yes, we have an esport and people like it and people watch it, there is not systems in place that make it profitable. There is not a kickback that makes sense to drive revenue for these teams. There is a lot of things that we have seen from other esports, and you've heard me talk about these at length about what Counter-Strike does with their in-game pick'em system and the stickers and some of the things that they do that are directly involved with interactivity with their community. There is things that we've seen from Dota with the International and their compendium prize pool, and why they can put a prize pool of $34 million in their tournament. There is examples from other esports, and at the end of the day, I think the number one thing that we could do better, and has been the talk of the town every time in Rocket League, communication. Just talk to people. Just talk to these orgs. Listen to what they have to say. Sit down and interact with them. There's a lot of things that we could do better. There's so many things that we could do better. And unfortunately, it starts with a conversation. I don't think I'm crazy in this. I've been talking nonstop off the top of the dome about this. This wasn't planned. This wasn't pre-rehearsed. This wasn't scripted. This is just me talking about the things I'm seeing. And I know I'm not the only one who feels this way about a lot of these things. These organizations are burnt out. They're tired of false promises. They're tired of empty promises. They're tired of things not coming to realization. And after a certain point, the people that are going to get affected the most is the community, us, because we're not going to have something to watch. We're not going to have something to sink our teeth into. We don't have content or stories or things about these players, why on earth was there no feature piece on Zen, the most sought after rookie in the league since Justin, probably, on the debut of that Team Vitality team? Low hanging fruit, guys. There's little things that can be done to really get us invested in this game, and showing the personalities of the players is the big thing. And it is up to the organizations to hold that shit accountable. As a player, your job is to be a public figure. And if you cannot do more than just compete, expect to be paid accordingly. That is the reality of this business. And I'm tired of hand-holding for these kids. I understand they're young and impressionable, and we have to be better about that and take care of their well-being and their mental health. 100%. I want players to earn the bag, but you don't deserve the bag unless you have the namesake and the notoriety and the performance behind it. All three of those things are important. I'm so happy to see a lot of these French players are starting to stream and stuff now, but like realistically, man, we are so far behind in what it feels like our infancy as an esport, and we've been doing this for 12 seasons, 9 years, and we still don't know the basics. Is that because of Epic? Is that because of Twitch and their early iteration? Is that because of the players? Is that because of the community? I don't know. I think everybody is to blame, myself included, I guess. I'll take part of the blame too. But again, I've also learned in this industry that if you voice your opinion and you're too bold and you speak up too much, you tend to get fired. So who knows? We'll see what happens, everybody. I'm just frustrated. I have ideas and solutions, I think, and things that I think we should be trying, and nowhere to put them. The only thing I ask of you is the thing that I am doing in the Apex. We are trying to do exactly that. We are trying to provide as many cool things as possible within our means and well over budget, but please support it. I guess that's what I ask. I'm trying to do things in a way that I can, but it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. If you guys have made it this far in the video, I greatly appreciate you. I know it's a long rant. I'm curious to hear your own opinions as well. Let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, this is a long, detailed one, and it all stems from G2 dipping out. So again, as always, if you guys enjoyed the content, like, subscribe, notifications, hit me up, comments down below. See you in the next video. Peace.